If you want to go racing, this is how they will line up for you. So Brian Scott grabbing that pole position. Daniel Angus will line up alongside him. Nicholas Cutfield alongside Daniel McCrosty. Robinson and Matthew Burton, the 944s on the third row. Here's a good story. Stephen Fang in the Porsche Boxster, best of the Boxsters, made real improvements between even practice yesterday and qualifying this morning. And our own Andrew Waite's been working very closely with him.
Yes, Andrew knows Stephen very, very well. Look, it's such a great story, Stephen Fang. A few years ago, he couldn't drive a manual car. Every car he'd ever had been automatic, and he'd done a few track days and that sort of thing, but massive progress. And he's always smiling ear to ear. Such a happy guy and just so much fun to be around. And of course, the guys loving him, having that, and watching him become so competitive is very, very exciting for us.
Sure is. A couple of competitors have made the journey from Hawke's Bay, including the 777 there of Tim Robinson, with some local Hawke's Bay coffee sponsorship from the workroom and couple and so on up there. So they're enjoying their time down here at Invercargill.
We should give a shout out for someone that is missing though. It's Jacob Bellamy, who's a young driver, another sort of teenage driver. Unfortunately, yesterday, big problems, lots of smoke pouring out from the engine, so they've had to pack up this morning and go. He was leading the whole Boxster Championship, so big repercussions, unfortunately, for him.
They are literally hitting the road, though, as you rightly point out. Had a quick chat with him, stuck my head in the window this morning before they ventured off. I think the plan is to go to Christchurch and try and find what they need in order to be back for Highlands next weekend. So busy few days on the road.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Yeah, really disappointing that was the case. I was quizzing Stu about it earlier, why I believe I saw their trailer leaving this morning out of the circuit, which is usually you'd be expecting trailers to arrive, so to see them leave, that's never a good sign.
So talented young guy, so we're disappointed, and for him as well. But even their flight down here was cancelled at the last minute. It just hasn't been their weekend.
Hopefully they can turn it around in Cromwell next weekend. We'd love you to join us there. You can still get your tickets via the Next Gen NZ Championship website. 69th New Zealand Grand Prix. Meantime, Pirelli Porsche Racing. Third round of the championship. Dramas off the second row. Can everyone avoid that stricken car? They do a great job to avoid it. Cutfield drops to last in the 234. Meantime, Angus on the outside into turn one. Can't quite do it.
Brian Scott managed to hold the lead there, keep in front there. They both didn't get the best of starts, bit of wheel spin off the line, but once they got the power down in those 991 Cup cars, they were away and off into the lead there. Duncan McCrosty's not too far behind there, trailing and shadowing those two 991s out front.
Feel for Cutfield. He's a dentist from Hawke's Bay, one of the Boxsters. Gets out into the...
Cam McCormick.
Yep. And you can see the marbles there, Ronan, can't you? Some of the debris that washes up on the higher part of the corner. When you place the car, particularly on an opening lap like this, cold rubber, not a good combo.
Yeah, this track's got a lot of camber in a lot of these fast corners, but still doesn't mean you want to end up way out high, up wide. You get hung out to dry, and what's happened to Cam McCormack there is exactly that. He's ended up in the marbles and just wasn't able to pull the car up, and he's given us a little bit of speedway action there in the grass. But as we complete the first lap going down the front straight, Brian Scott leads, opening lap time of 105.51. As we see a replay here, so he's just way wide, ended up out in the dirt, did a good job to keep it away from the gravel trap.
Stu?
As you say, look, once you get wide here, you're in the marbles and you're in trouble. It's a lot of marbles out there, unfortunately.
You're a racer in your own right, and you regularly work with the competitors in this field, just around, kind of guidance and advice on some of this stuff, don't you?
Well, yeah, but because particularly here, everybody was so, like, what do you do here? What do you do? What should I be looking here? All this sort of thing. So there's a lot to learn. It's a deceptive track, isn't it? Because it looks so simple. It's a little bit like the old Pukekohe. You're looking for, well, what's hard about that? It's not a technical track, but to get that last couple of tenths, that's difficult to do.
And looking down towards turn 2 there, McCormack did actually make the gravel trap in the end, but he did a great job to get it out of there and keep the momentum rolling as we go back to Nicholas Cutfield there in the 234 car.
Almost in the 10, Ronan. He's almost back in the top 10, so he's trying to recover what happened at the start, and if it was on his side, he'll be filthy with himself. So he's one of those really passionate people, isn't he? He loves his cars and has, I think, actually come out of a two-wheel background to begin with. Had a bit of a love of motorbikes, but has now gone Porsche racing.
Well, and that was his very first start in that car. It's brand new to him. And we talked about quite a bit how difficult they are to get off the line.
So let's take a look at the race start. This car, I think, has a history originally with the proud Invercargill local Scott O'Donnell. So it looks like it stalls on the line. You're in a scramble then to try and refire it, aren't you? So
imagine the adrenaline pumping at that stage and looking in your mirror thinking, oh no, I'm going to get hit.
There's some licorice straps coming off the back of Brian Scott's car, so he really put the pedal to the metal. But yeah, look like Cupfield, they obviously, as you guys were saying, they're hard cars to get off the line. They're quite a heavy-duty clutch in a Cup car, so he clearly just got a bit excited, probably dropped it a little bit too quickly, and the car didn't want to play ball. So he's doing a great job to come back through the field. He's now in 8th position, so he's made up a heap of positions and managed to carve through around half the field, but the rest of the field are pretty far up the road, so he's going to have a bit of work to do to try and catch up to the rest of them.
In fact, I think he's as high as 5th now, Ronan. Our timing just updating.
Yeah.
So moving ahead of Ian Hill and Stephen Fang there, who are battling for the Boxster lead as well. So Ian doing a nice job in the 58 at the moment. So, but just
the gap's he's 27 seconds off the lead. So in 4 laps, Brian Scott and Daniel Angus and Duncan McCrosty have made serious progress and just driven away from the rest of the field. So Cupfield's going to have a lot of work to do. It's going to be pretty hard us to gap or gain that amount of time with 6 or 5 laps to go. But you know, he was showing really good pace in qualifying, so I'm sure he'll give it a red hot crack. As we see there, Daniel Angus with the fastest lap of the race, 1:08.12. So he's clearly got good speed in that 991 Generation 2 Cup car, chasing down Brian Scott for the race lead.
Nothing in it though. Just if you compare the lap times last time around, 0.07 of a second between Scott and Angus. So that battle we got a little glimpse of too for the Boxster lead is heating up. Looked like Stephen Fang closing in on the back of Ian Hill as well. So here you go. That is actually, I think, for the lead of the Boxster class. Left of your screen, Stephen Fang, and behind the wheel of the 58, Ian Hill just in front of him.
And behind them, you just see on screen now that the red car, he dropped right back at the start. He must have got mixed up with the confusion with the stalled car, because he was the pole sitter in the 944 class.
Tim Robinson.
Yeah, Tim Robinson, the Hawke's Bay. That's the one you're talking about with the coffee sponsorship. So he's dropped back behind Matt Burton, who's right on screen as we talk, just coming through turn 2 now. But
Chris Taylor in the mix there, I think, too, in the JPS-inspired livery on that car, and there he is there.
So obviously Stephen Fang was the pole sitter for that class, but he's got behind Ian Hill once again, probably because of the mix-up at the start. But Ian Hill is the one, if you go down and actually stand trackside, he has got that car on a knife edge. It's just slightly drifting everywhere. That's the car you see braking now, just turning left there with the burgundy top. Really balances it on a knife edge.
So just ahead of them, Ian Hill in the 58, best of the Boxsters at the moment, from Stephen Fang, who, as Stu Owers was saying a moment ago, was the pole sitter in this class. So Stephen trying to use now all of the things that he's been working with Andrew Waite on. Did a really good job in qualifying, made significant gains in this car, and that driver coaching, that's now where it comes into its own. Meantime, Robinson gets by Chris Taylor. That's up into 8th place.
Still got a way to go to catch Matthew Burton, who's the class leader there. But I think Andrew Waite's coaching just came down to, you need to go faster. Pretty simple, really.
Oh, and he's having a good look down towards turn 2 there, and Ian Hill actually moved over a little bit and ran the defensive line down towards 2. So Stephen Fang's having a really good crack here at trying to get something done. He's managed to, Ian Hill's a little bit offline potentially there, and Stephen Fang's getting right up behind him now. So we may see an attempt at a pass in the next couple of laps, even the next couple of corners if we're lucky.
But you can see there in one of those shots, just the drift angles there, just a little bit of slippage. Obviously too much slippage and you're scrubbing speed, but you just need to move those little Boxsters around a bit. And actually, even though they're mid-engine, they're a little bit oversteery, so you've got to be just hanging on to them all the time to get the best out of them.
Meanwhile, in the background there, I think our outright leaders, Brian Scott and Daniel Angus, starting to close in on this group, so lap traffic will become a factor potentially. Maybe it'll work in Angus's favour. So Brian Scott still leads the way as we near the end of this race. Less than 3 to go now in Pirelli Porsche New Zealand. round 3 of the championship for this series, and it will all wrap up at Hampton Downs in March. It's been a great year so far, hasn't it? Great season.
Look, it has. It's been a brilliant season. But look how Daniel Angus, look how close he is, and he's showing, he's getting in the mirrors. That's exciting.
Brian Scott was busy right then. He was trying to not only pass Stephen, or put Stephen Fang a lap down, but he was also trying to defend from Daniel Angus. So that's a really hard position to be in, because when you've got a car that's chomping at the bit trying to get past you and you're trying to make a move, it's something that you've got to have some experience to try and manage. So he's done a great job there to now clear him, and he's going to try and dispose of Ian Hill and Tim Robinson at the same time. That's deep.
Tricky stuff there.
Gets awkward, and that might cost Ian Hill the lead in the Boxster class. Look at them side by side. That's worked for Stephen Fang. With all the craziness, with the 944 in the mix, the 2 leaders coming through, Fang may just wrestle the lead. I think he's done it. I think he's got the lead in 7th place.
And look at Angus looking down the inside there. He's making his presence felt, isn't he?
What a wild previous last lap there, and Stephen Fang did get the move done, so he's now taking the lead in the Boxster class. Great little capitalisation on an opportunity that presented itself there. Some of the faster cars coming through to put these guys a lap down, and unfortunately Ian Hill got left out, hung to dry on the exit of the final corner.
When the car of Robinson split that Boxster pairing, you could automatically think the frustrations might creep in for Stephen Fang. Within a couple of corners, the C's part, the whole game changes. That's about being just calm and still looking for opportunities that might present, isn't it? You can't get too wound up.
Yeah, exactly right. He stayed patient, didn't make any mistakes, and unfortunately Ian Hill was the one that ended up getting run out wide there. And that's the thing with this racing that you have to manage really well and be careful of. When you've got faster cars approaching, they're usually in a hurry and they just want to get the pass made and done with and move on.
Look at Ian Hill here. Look at him looming in the mirror of Fang. Fades to the inside, I think, just to try and force Stephen maybe into an error. Doesn't happen through that first corner, so we're on the run home. This will be fascinating in the boxes as to who takes it out. And we've got to keep an eye on Brian Scott and Daniel Angus at the same time in that fight for the lead. If there's any more lap traffic, maybe it'll work in Angus's favour. Meantime, Cutfield has been able to get back to 4th after dropping all the way down. This is for the lead. This is for the lead. Scott holds it, but they're heading out of that final turn for the checkered flag. That's a crucial move. Scott will win this one from Daniel Angus, but it wasn't without a last-minute shot, a last-minute roll of the dice to do it. That's great work in Pirelli Porsche.
And there was a tiny bit of contact there. You saw a tiny bit of debris come off the car. So Brian Scott did a great job to defend, and Daniel Angus was smart to be able to pull out of that and not cause any more damage. But we see here, coming across the line,
looks like Fang's going to do it in the Boxster class. Congratulations. Hill kept the pressure on all the way to the line. So some really interesting stuff happening there in Pirelli Porsche. Whew. Nice way to open the weekend for you guys.
Fantastic. And look, I don't have to go down and sort out any arguments over body damage or, which just makes my day, I can tell you that.
Okay, so Brian Scott Motors, the Porsche with that iconic livery on it, is your winner of race 1 after 10 laps from Daniel Angus and Duncan McCrosty. Here we go, replay of the start as we show you highlights, and it was Nicholas Cutfield that went all the way to the back of the pack. He would then have to begin a fight back that would ultimately take him to 4th place. Off into the marbles on the opening couple of laps. Managed to recover it and get back on. Meanwhile, Scott and Angus started putting down some really solid laps. The Kensway entry, we thought at one point, as they worked their way through lap, competitors might be able to wrestle the lead, but in fact what was happening was a change among the Boxsters. It was Stephen Fang, the pole sitter in that class, moving ahead of Ian Hill. The run to the line, the very final corner. Ronan Murphy spots even a light touch between the pair of them, but it didn't stop Brian Scott from bolting to the line to grab the win. Just Angus having a late lunge into that final corner. That's a sweet one. So recap of the results for you. Scott wins it outright from Angus. Cutfield, as we said, recovers to finish in 4th place. And in the end, Stephen Fang takes out the Boxsters just over Ian Hill.
He did, and he'll be delighted. And there's the other Boxster battle, which includes the father and son duo. So it's Dad 1, Son 0.
Great work. Mark McCorn getting into 10th. Ashton ultimately finishing in 12th. That is the way we have opened the racing account here this weekend, all as a part of the Ascot Hotels Teretonga Park International. Massive afternoon coming your way here on the Stuff Speed Hub, including our first race of the weekend for the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship, Somerset GT. They'll be on track as well, and of course, a huge and very competitive field in Bridgestone GR86. Nathan Pilcher, motorsport manager there for Porsche New Zealand, on hand to congratulate some of the competitors. Our colleague having a good laugh, Stephen McIver. Let's take you to him now.
Yeah, well, the winner, Brian Scott's just blowing a little bit. How good was that?
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Good competition, and it's the fastest lap we ever did in qualifying around here, 59, and thanks to Action Motorsport for setting my car up for me. And I'm bloody buggered, actually.
Well, it was 10 quick laps, but you had to work it, huh?
Yeah, and nice, clean racing. Chap behind me was very good. I was probably a bit defensive on the last corner, but he wasn't having it.
Fair play, mate. Congratulations on the win in race 1 in the Pirelli Porsche. Brian Scott, congratulations. Lights the flag. Daniel Angus, the man you talked about. There you go. Bit of brotherly love. I'm good, mate. Congratulations. You tried that last dip on the final corner. That was a wide Porsche you were racing.
Yeah, I came in late, and I could see he didn't see me, so I just hit the anchors as hard as I can. I wasn't going to ruin our race right at the end there, but it was such a good race. We kept each other even, and yeah, it's just so much fun out there. Really fast track.
Yeah. Well, what is that track like to race?
Epic. Look, after we've lost Pukekohe, that track is by far the fastest now, and you're just on the limit. It's just awesome.
Saying that, you're going to become an honorary Southlander. Well played.
Thank you very much.
And Duncan McCrossley, where is he? Where's Duncan? Come over here, buddy. You have to talk to me. Sorry, pal. P3 and the Pirelli Porsches. Well, they were a bit too quick, but you hung in there because you had to deal with a bit of traffic too.
Yes, the traffic worked out all right for me. It was I muffed the start up, but not as bad as the other 997. So yeah, it was sort of all over by then.
And this track, when you have to get through traffic, fun or too challenging?
It's okay as long as the timing's right.
A little bit skinny. Congratulations on P3. There you go. That's the podium for the Pirelli Porsche race series.